All right, guys, it is June 4th, 2026, and I am back home from our trip to Michigan. We drove up there from Central Florida, and we drove back from there. And while we were up in Michigan, we also got to go to the UP. So we didn't drive. My wife's cousin Lori drove us an extra 800 or 900 miles to do some sightseeing, which I was extremely grateful for. By the way, a lot of yard work is going on right now around me. And hopefully this Mic Air camera that I've got will be sufficient enough to block out a lot of the noise. I certainly have it close enough to me, right? But nonetheless, I hope that this thing works properly to begin with. So, in my last video that I uploaded, somebody commented that I should do a word count of how many times I use the word anyway. Okay, so I guess we're gonna nitpick, but I did go back and count, and it was quite a bit. I don't think it was anything that most people would even pick up on that much, but this one individual certainly did. And I'll have to say, I'm not totally ungrateful that he did, because it's one of those things I really need to work on. I think the reason why some videos come off well when I'm just speaking off the cuff, I think some of those come off well and others don't, depends on where my mind is at. And by that point in the day, in that video, I was really, really tired, like I am right now. So don't be surprised if I keep repeating words or I fumble over my sentences or something like that, because I've had maybe 1 hour of interrupted sleep in the past 36 hours, because I drove straight through from Michigan. And I'd like to take a nap, but it is, right now it's 6:35. I've been putting it off. We got home about 3:30 in the afternoon, and I was tired then too, but I mean, what are you gonna do? I have things to do, I have things to unpack. I have this rental van I'm supposed to take back. I never took it back, I didn't have time, so I'm having to pay for an extra day for it to sit in front of my house. That's okay, I don't think it's much. So, I don't like being rushed. I don't like feeling that I have to constantly flit around like a hummingbird for everybody else, even though I might have been the one to put myself in that circumstance. You know, you sometimes, I don't know, I find myself doing this. I find myself becoming a slave to the expectations of others, not because they really expect me to live up to them, not like there's not any leeway, or not, and it's not even that the consequences are that great if I don't live up to someone's expectations, but I find myself trying really hard and being upset and going, having a certain amount, I don't know if you call it anxiety, but I give a great deal of energy to trying to make things happen as they're supposed to happen, right? I'm trying to do that less now and just go, whatever. Yeah. It feels kind of good. I think part of the reason why we're like this is because we want to believe that we can have what we want with the I don't know if I'm going to say this right. We can have what we want, what we're trying to achieve, with the least amount of loss, right? Yeah. So I think that's why I feel that way, but I just don't know if I care anymore, or at least I'm trying to not care. I'm trying to liberate myself like that. And you hear about people getting older and doing stuff like this, thinking this way, and then they all say the same thing. I wish I would have learned this many, many years ago. Yeah, I do. I'm one of those people. I've shown you guys this before, but look at this house over here. I don't know if you can see it very well. That's a beautiful house. I think maybe just one person lives there. And she has donkeys, because I can hear them at night, braying, or in the morning. And not praying, braying. And maybe some sheep, some horses. She has some horses. Anyway, there you go with the word anyway. How many is that, guys? At least twice, right? So the trip back from Michigan was pretty safe, I have to say, because we left at 10 o'clock in the morning from Muskegon, Michigan. But I made a couple of stops. I got to Indiana, and I stopped off in Monticello and Peru. Places I grew up when I was a little boy. And I got to make some video there. I don't know how it's going to turn out. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do with it yet. But I'm going to show you guys some things. So my dad was a pastor of a church, several churches there in Indiana, back in the 70s and 80s. And back 4 years ago, no, was it 4 years ago? No, 16 years ago, big difference, right? 16 years ago, I tried to get in this church and there was nobody there. My son and I walked up to the church yesterday. There was cars in the parking lot. I said, I'm gonna try to go in. I'm gonna knock on the door. There's people here. I mean, what are they gonna do? Tell me no? Look at me crossways? I'm never gonna see them again. I don't care. So somebody did come to the door. They let us in. I told them who I was, who my dad was, and why I would be so excited if they let me come in and view the church. And they did. And so that was a real joy. I got to do that. I went to the second church in one in Peru, Indiana. Nobody there. So I learned a few things about myself in my endeavor to see what going to these places would do to me. And I'm not gonna spill beans on what I learned about myself. I think I'm gonna use the videos themselves to talk about that. So I have a couple of other things I want to tell you too. I know this is all random stuff, right, guys? Okay, so I wanted to say that I think that Georgia is the safest place that I have ever driven in the United States. And I've been through Georgia numbers of times. But people don't drive, at least that I can tell from all of my experiences, they don't drive real crazy there. And it's because of the presence of law enforcement on the roads. The state troopers, the sheriff's office, the city police, they're everywhere. And you can tell by the way people drive. I have never felt more safe on the road than in Georgia. This is not the first time I've thought of this. Now, Atlanta is the exception to this rule. Or not really a rule. Atlanta is the exception to this statement. But barring that, the rest of Georgia is all cool. You know, I love it there. Could I see myself living there? You know, this is one of the things I'm going to be talking about in my future videos. I don't know if I can see myself living anywhere else now anymore, except where I am. And there's no place where you are. There's no time like the present. And that's enough of that, because I'll give too much away. So, on the way back, my youngest son and my youngest daughter stayed here. They didn't go with us because, well, they're adults. My son is 20, my daughter's 21, and both of them have jobs. And my son gets car sick real easy. He didn't want to take that long of a trip. I'm the same way. I totally understand. I think he would have enjoyed it, but I'm glad that he didn't do it if it would have made him sick. But anyway, there you go. That's at least 3 times, right? 3 times. So he called us up today, this afternoon, on our way home. Was it that? No. I think he called or texted my wife in the wee hours of the morning. Like 4:30, and told her, which, when you hear from your kids at the time of the morning, that's not good. That is not good. But he said to her, I think Roxy, which is one of our cats, it's the oldest cat we have. She's probably 20 plus years old. He said, I think this is going to be her last night. And the reason why he said that is because when we feed the cats, or my daughter is usually the one who does it all, these cats go nuts. And even that cat, as old as she is dominant and asserts herself, forces herself in front of the other cats, and they let her. But apparently, when they were feeding the cats last night, she didn't act like she was interested in eating. And she just stayed in her little thing that she sleeps in. Didn't get up. It's a sure sign, especially at her age. To be honest with you guys, we've been waiting for years for her to kick off because she's so old. And realistically, I probably should have had her put down. I'm getting tired of having animals put down, though. Begins to grate on your nerves after a while. You know what I mean? I would do it if I knew that there was a sickness, an actual thing like feline leukemia, which I have put a cat down for that. I put a dog down for cancer. So for things like that, I would do that. But if it's just old age, not going to do it. But anyway, maybe I should have. And I got tired of this rash of animals dying, and it kind of breaks your heart all the time, So that's what he said, and I asked my wife later on, did you hear anything from our son? No, he's probably sleeping. Well, we stopped at McDonald's on our way home. I think we were in Georgia. I had gone to the bathroom. I was coming back. I was getting ready to go to the bathroom. My wife calls me over. She was sobbing. She said, come here. Roxy died. Now, here's the thing. We have numerous cats, and it's starting to get dark out here. We have numerous cats. It's easy to lose one and not think much of it. At least for me, it's not. Because I don't really like them that much anyway. But we've had this cat since my kids were little, and they're all adults now. And my son asked my wife, now I think he knew the answer, but he's never been faced with this before. I'm sure he was a little upset. He asked my wife, what do you want me to do with this? So she asked me, I said, well, he can bury it. He can bury it, or he can wait for me to come home and bury it, implying that I'm going to be really tired. I'm going to be so tired that I'm not going to want that to be the first thing I do when I walk in the door. My wife told me later on he did bury it. And then he told me, well, I went into his room and I asked him, I said, how'd that go? I thought I was all right until I had to pull her out of her little bed and put her in the ground. Yeah, I know, man. Listen, I know exactly what that feels like. It sucks. I know what it feels like when they're still alive and they act happy. You've got to go in and take them in and they get the shot. That's even worse. But yeah, I do know the feeling of that. I said, I've, this is going to sound horrible, but I have been with people when they die. And I've been with animals when they die. And it's been harder for me to see a pet die than a human. Now, why is that? Well, I'm not insensitive. It's just that with humans, you see things coming a lot sooner for the most part, right? You see things coming a lot sooner. And you've had time to prepare. You've had lots of conversations in a lot of cases, not every case. And so Yeah, but you can't have those conversations with your beloved pets, and they've never done anything wrong to you. They may have done things you didn't like, but they're innocent. And they're just happy to see you all the time. So anyway, that's what we were faced with when we got home, or at least on our way home. Made my wife very upset. Am I upset about it? No, not really. I mean, the cat kind of needed to go. Honestly, she was more trouble than it was worth. But I never could say about that cat that I loved her. You know, not like another cat I had, or a dog or anything like that. But yeah. But like I said, I am so tired. I just wanted to kind of, I don't know. I just felt like picking up this camera and going out and making a video. And there's so much noise right now. It's a plane flying overhead. Hopefully you can hear me all right. But it's good to be back home. And I'll tell you what, guys, there really is no place like home. When you start getting onto roads that you travel every day and the end is in sight, it's a good feeling. It also feels like you're never gonna actually get there. That might be the longest part of the journey, right? Just get me home. Just get me home. My wife was not too happy with me because she wanted me to stop and spend the night somewhere. We'll get a hotel room. Nope. Why not? I said, because you know why? I relish the idea of getting to the other side of Atlanta in the wee hours of the morning. Yeah, thank you, Atlanta. Because of you, I'm gonna keep on driving. She said, oh yeah, that's a good point. But, no. She was not happy with me. I was like, buckle up, Buttercup. Because we're taking a ride. It's a long ways home. I understand that people get antsy in the car and everything, but you're still having to drive the same amount of distance and hours regardless. And I did really good for a while. I was awake for quite a long time. Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. And you know how that goes. All of a sudden it just hits you, right? Hits you, and you can't recover from it. I'm spending the rest of the time on my way home going, yeah, I can do this. I love this. This is great. I'm having fun. This is a good time. No, I was not having a good time, but I was doing everything I could to try to stay awake, and I was determined that I was going to show her that I did not regret my decision to keep on driving. We made it. We're here safe. It's good to be back home.